illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh al-mab'utsu rahmatan lil alamin. Allahumma shalli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Qala Allah Ta'ala fi kitabil karim, a'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa ma arsalnaka illa rahmatan lil alamin. Ladies and gentlemen,
Syahril, Mas Fahrizal, Mas Latif Fauzi, who has flown all the way.
one of the speakers for the international conference about the Islam Nusantara, and that was remind me 2015 because I met Professor Carol at the time at pharmacy.
Pesantren and higher education. So I mentioned here the pesantren developed by Almarhum K. Hasim Muzadi is a good solution. So
Building sustainable future for Islam Nusantara through education. So I make this with Mr. Hadi Rahman. If you look at the schedule, actually this will be presented by Mr. Hadi Rahman over there, the special staff of the Ministry of Religious Affairs, and myself as the Sub-Directorate of Professional Development within the Directorate of Islamic Higher Education, Ministry of Religious Affairs. I make the title because previous presentations has been so much put attention on Islam Nusantara, the terminology and also the history of Islam Nusantara and the implementation of Islam Nusantara throughout the world and also in Indonesian context. So let me try to look at the discussion about Islam Nusantara and what can be done. What about the Islamic Indonesian higher education so far? So I would like to put this as our attention at the moment. So let me first of all introduce the Ministry of Religious Affairs in general. So as you can see that the visions of the Ministry of Religious Affairs, we are going to create pious, bright and competitive Muslim country, which means moderate Muslim mindset. As we know, we got a lot of Islamic education, 56 state Islamic education include 11 state Islamic university, so-called UIN, and the rest IEN and STAIN. I saw many of the delegates from STAIN, IEN, and also UIN. And the objective for the Ministry of Religious Affairs, I presented here on the three: improving access to Islamic education, improving quality, relevance and competitiveness of Islamic education, and lastly improving good governance of Islamic education. So as you can see from the structure within the Ministry of Religious Affairs, my position is actually here. Directorate General of Islamic Education, and within the Directorate General of Islamic Education, we got Directorate of Islamic Higher Education. So I'm working at the Directorate of Islamic Higher Education. And Mr. Hadi Rahman here, special staff for the Ministry of Religious Affairs, which basically providing supervision and advice for the ministry to certain situation and condition and other expertise to suggest the Ministry of Religious Affairs. Okay, as I said earlier, this is because from Apple, yeah. So the title for this one is actually no good. Okay. I don't have a print-out edition because actually I just made this presentation today, considering there are a lot of discussion about Islam Nusantara already. So the title about this one is actually our concern, current situations of the Indonesian higher education. So as you can see, Indonesian higher education supervised under the two different ministries. The one, the education sector supervised under the Ministry of Religious Affairs, and the one supervised under the Ministry of Research and Higher Education. So I'm going to talk about the current situation about Indonesian higher education. So first of all, let me explain about this. So at the moment, we can see that there is a strong demand for Indonesian Muslim society to get knowledge from secular knowledge as well as combined with the Islamic values. So that's the situation. Most of them learn and continue their knowledge to secular-based university with a different Ministry of Research and Higher Education. This has a lot of demands from Muslim society. They want to get secular knowledge as well as Islamic values within their student, within their generations. And secondly, the environment. In terms of Islamic environment, due to globalization as well as the implication of transnational ideology, secular-based university tends to be more religious, whereas religious-based university, which is any higher education under the Ministry of Religious Affairs, I categorize as religious-based universities, become more open, become more progressive, even sometimes has been classified as too liberal, as Mr. Danny Hamdani graduated from UIN Semarang, for instance, and if he talked about Islam Nusantara and other istimbat of hukum, which is too progressive, people will categorize that he is too liberal. This is the condition. This is important. I have to put in the first place the situation of Indonesian higher education supervised within two different ministries. And this is I categorize with the risk, can be risk within the Indonesian higher education. The competency, this is the key themes. Core competencies on Islamic studies has been developed through Islamic higher education within religious-based universities, whereas in secular-based universities tends to learn Islamic studies outside the curriculum of the universities. They got only to SKS to learn about Islam. As a compensation, most of the students graduate from secular-based universities. They learn Islam. They learn Islam outside the curriculum of the campuses. Compared to Islamic higher education, they learn Islamic studies as a core competencies. So they learn Islamic studies from the epistemological background, and sometimes the construction and reconstruction of the theoretical framework delivered within the Islamic education. So they learn about different views of knowing within school of thought in Islamic higher education. Compared to secular-based university, they learn Islamic studies outside the curriculum of the university. So as a compensation, they learn Islamic studies outside the curriculum. And what happened? They have been hijacked through transnational ideology. So there are a growing number of students within secular-based university become more black or white thinking in terms of Islamic studies approach.
The first
so this is the situation.
So I is definitely Snoeker Ganje. Snoeker Ganje has written often
overlapping area of concern within Indonesian higher education at the moment. Islamic higher education now open faculty of science, faculty of health, faculty of pharmacy. They open to other secular knowledge, and whereas secular-based university now tends to learn Islamic studies as well, include formally and informally. Informally, you know what I mean, like Haroka and has been delivered within Ambos and other stuff and other things. This is also our concern. This is also our situation at the moment. So the indirect implication to the above trends is that the graduate from secular-based university tend to bring their Islamic luggage they got from secular-based university to overseas, which tend to be more rigid textual approach to Islamic studies. So I would like to bring this into our own experience, you are as an overseas student. I feel myself when I was studying my master degree and my PhD, some of the students graduated from secular-based university because they got that kind of Islamic environment within the secular university, and they still bring that kind of language into overseas. So they know Islam into black or white thinking in terms of Islamic studies approach. So this is why so important graduate from Islamic higher education to continue their study approach to promote Islam Nusantara, because their mindset moderate Muslim. So I can see there will be explanation about the tension within the graduate from secular-based university and religious-based university when they are in overseas in terms of their Islamic studies approach, because those who graduate from Islamic education relatively more open and progressive, and those from secular-based university become more, as there are debate on kafir and halal haram become more rigid compared to those who graduate from religious-based university. Somehow, those who graduate from religious-based university become more tataburuhos, easy to make judgment based on their knowledge of usul fiqh and fiqh, something like that. And the indirect implication to the above trends in terms of our experience being here in overseas is that create tension among Indonesian communities in overseas and hijack the common ground of becoming Indonesian Islam community. So what does it mean? As I mentioned earlier, as I said earlier, when there is a different approach to Islamic studies growing from their background in secular-based university and religious-based university. Here in Netherlands, for instance, they got tension in terms of their own communities, for instance. My own experience in South Australia, we already have Indonesian Muslim Association in South Australia. Due to this kind of different approach to Islamic studies, or debating about Islam Nusantara, Tahlil, Maulud Nabi, and those who from secular-based university tends to oppose those kind of tradition, because those kind of tradition is bid'ah, and those kind of istibat hukum is halal haram and kafir judgment, things like that. They become attention each other. And what is happening? The organization of Islam on behalf of Islam, they couldn't unite each other. So the Indonesian Muslim Association in Australia make another sections. Those who oppose to, who try to influence MIAS to have this kind of approach, textual approach. And this situation, I heard so many Indonesian in overseas also has a similar experience, tension among themselves. Actually, under the banner of Islam, they don't need to, compete each other. But this is the reality. This is what is happening at the moment. I feel so thirsty. And the other indirect implication from the above trends is that, for me, split personality within some Indonesian scholars graduate from both secular-based university and religious-based university. It is also very important. What does it mean? It means that you may see a lot of Indonesian scholars graduate from secular knowledge in terms of mathematics, health and science. They are expert in that kind of knowledge. But when they are talking about Islamic study approach, it becomes more rigid. Halal, haram, kafir, black or white thinking, single truth paradigm. And it is also, thank you so much, you are so kind, Islam Nusantara. Let me drink first. This kind of situation, tension within Indonesian communities in overseas, and also split personality within Islamic scholars, because they are growing, become, mature like I myself, finished PhD, and I'm going to old and become a
this kind of attention resonate or can be seen in our society. I live in Bintaro resident, and I can see through WhatsApp, yeah, how those debate textual approach and contextual approach among those two graduates from secular-based university and Islamic higher education seriously, can be seen over there. This is our challenges in terms of how can we really think about Islam Nusantara, promoting Islam Nusantara in a global audience. We have to reflect what is happening within our Indonesian higher education system. This is the real situation. Okay, next. So if we know that kind of situation, what should we do? Now, I'm going to say that this kind of international conference about Islam Nusantara, about promoting moderate Islam in Indonesia is very important, and Indonesian government needs to provide a lot of budget to promote this kind of promotion Islam Nusantara in overseas and also in country. So I said getting moderate Muslim through education and scholarship. So I feel that those students who got scholarship under whatever scholarship like APS, Fulbright, Endeavor, LPDP or Mora scholarship, they are ambassador for Indonesian Islam in overseas. They have to really got that kind of moderate Muslim as Indonesian. If they don't have enough capacity of moderate Muslim in Indonesia and they study abroad and they continue their study abroad, what is happening? They will also promote black or white thinking in overseas. That's reality. That is happening. From LPDP, our concern with those kind of LPDP programs, they don't have enough capacity to really evaluate their candidate based on the moderate Muslim mindset. I cannot imagine they got scholarship from Indonesian government, but they don't promote being moderate Muslim. Actually, it is good for any kind of scholarship provided through NU, and NU manage those kind of scholarship. This world will be better and peace, I guess. Okay, so this is getting moderate Muslim through education and scholarship. This is the policy influence. You see, looking at current condition, policy influence is required to strengthen moderate Muslim in Indonesia. So I said CST. Anyone who knows about CST? Kalau tahu CST boleh tinggalkan ruangan ini. Kan ini tahu nggak? So CST mean critical system thinking, which mean appreciate multiple views of knowing should be embraced within Indonesian higher education. To see the truth through the eyes of another. This is the curriculum that need to be developed within Indonesian higher education. So the policy influence also include not only the curriculum but also providing scholarship. So the Ministry of Religious Affairs, as you can see, we provide 5,000 PhD scholarship. So annually we provide 1,000 scholarship, 750 in country universities, and 250 in overseas university. Why is it so important? We want to make sure that those who continue their study abroad has a strong mindset in a moderate Muslim and promote Islam Indonesia in overseas. Because I just discussed with the director of international office within the Freie University. They said, well, I don't know about Indonesian Islam. All I know is about Islam in the Middle East. Islam is Arab, So this is the thing that we need to develop and inform throughout the world that Indonesia is a peaceful country and Indonesia bring the notion of Islam Nusantara with the values of tawasud, tawazun, and ta'adul. The values is there, and we need to do such thing frequently through our policy. And we are lucky through the social structure. As you can see that Indonesia social structure is strong enough to deal with the ISIS ideology or terrorism. So what is happening in Europe, in London, in whatsoever country, why they couldn't handle ISIS properly? Because they don't have strong capacity, social structure as we got in Indonesia. social structure mean within the Ministry of Religious Affairs, we provide Islamic education started from madrasah, ibtidaiyah, sanawiyah, aliyah, and also Islamic higher education, and also pesantren, which teach those students in a moderate way. You can imagine how many students within those Islamic education. This is the social structure that provide Indonesia strong enough from the influence of ISIS or transnational ideology. So this is very important. And also don't forget the moderate Muslim organization between NU and Muhammadiyah. I feel so proud of myself, growing from a pesantren. I got pesantren in Pekalongan and also in Brebes, my mertua. So, this kind of historical background bring me how important to really introduce pesantren and the value of pesantren, the one who use peci and sarungan, but professional, but progressive, and they can talk in Islam and science. That's the thing that we really want to develop in the future. And don't forget our brother Muhammadiyah. So forget about the ihtilaf, about kunut or whatsoever. That's not relevant anymore. Because as mentioned by Hasim Muzadi, they are not debating about kunut because they forgot to salat subuh. You see, the Muhammadiyah also important partner for us to develop a moderate Muslim in Indonesia. And how to, and come back to my first statement about the condition of Indonesian higher education is how to reduce overlapping area of concern. As I mentioned earlier, in the other hand, religious-based university under the Ministry of Religious Affairs become more open and liberal somehow, and open to debate, and we tend to support, to endorse IN to be UIN. So transformation from Islamic higher education into a state Islamic university UIN. So those transformations also, as the implication, we also now open faculty of science, faculty of pharmacy. So this is the overlapping area of concern. So any higher education under the Ministry of Religious Affairs now opening faculty of secular as well. That's what I mean. On the other hand, secular-based university under the Ministry of Research and Higher Education tend to learn Islamic studies formally and informally. What is this become my concern is informally to learn about Islamic studies. As you can see, we cannot learn electrician, become the electrician, referring without, without referring to the expertise. If we don't do that properly, we might die because of handling those kind of electricity. Similar with Islamic studies. Islamic studies should be handled properly with those expertise. So if the academic environment, the Islamic environment within secular-based university is not handled properly with the curriculum and supported by the Indonesian government, it is going to be very dangerous. Because they become one truth paradigm. They think that they know everything about Islam. It's not the case, Learning Islam started from ibtidaiyah, I myself learning Islam since when I was born in the pesantren, And those people from secular-based university learning Islam through translation, terjemahan, you know what I mean? And they become ustaz and become, judgment halal haram. How come? They learn Islam within a month and they become a mufti and ustaz. This is dangerous, you know what I mean? So reduce overlapping area of concern. What we are doing at the moment within the Ministry of Religious Affairs is Islam and Science. So you see, as I mentioned earlier, the transformation into a university is attempts to integrate between Islam and science. We are responding to the demands because the demand for the Muslim society in Indonesia, they want to bring their kids, their students to learn about secular knowledge, but at the same time they got Islamic values. So this is the answer within the Islamic higher education. So any one of you as parents who wants to make your kids become, expert in a science, technology, and also put in Islamic mindset in a moderate way,
bring to our Islamic education, not the secular one, you know. So, and how to reduce the overlapping area of concern pesantren and higher education. So I mentioned here the pesantren developed by almarhum K. Hasim Muzadi is a good solution. So he built the pesantren next to UI Depok in order to reduce such kind of condition. So some of the students stay in the pesantren and they got comprehensive knowledge about Islamic studies, and they got not difficult for them to be influenced with the transnational ideology. And secondly, diaspora. This is the idea from Ahil Al-Giram Bahati. So this kind of diaspora, those who stay in overseas need to provide network and collaborations to speak area of concern that need to be developed together in order to make Indonesia as a role model in the world. What's my point with this? Okay, this is maybe conclusion, I guess. Oh yeah. Smart guys. This is a conclusion. I feel so thirsty. How many hours actually I have already? Nearly enough. Okay. Spot on, spot on. So this is the conclusion. First, supporting moderate Muslim. It is very important to provide environment and curriculum to support moderate Muslim within secular-based university and also religious-based university. Both of them. I become fair, to put those two Indonesian higher education, because within religious-based university, as I mentioned earlier, now we also offer faculty of science, faculty of technology. So those. So we need expertise from science and technology as well. So we have to protect a faculty of secular, faculty of science and technology within Islamic education from that kind of mindset, which is black or white thinking, no good. And secondly, scholarship program of Islam Nusantara. As I said and suggest in the first place, Indonesian government should pay attention a lot on how to promote Islam Nusantara through education and scholarship in overseas. So maybe for me, Islam Nusantara can be one of the criteria for the scholarship programs, such as scholarship program on Islam Nusantara in Freie University or in German University. So we have to do such kind like that. And lastly, for the conclusion, remember that every single of us is an ambassador to promote Islam as a peace religion, because people outside Western society tend to judge Islam by Muslim. It's not the other way around. Okay? They don't know about Islamic teaching. They know about us, the Muslim. So as a Muslim, we have to create ourselves. We have to develop ourselves. Who become a Muslim of tolerance, become a Muslim professional, become an expertise in knowledge and science and technology, and also building harmony in diversity. That Islam Nusantara. I guess that's all my presentation. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Excellent.
We have a short session for question and answer, so maybe 2 questions at the most. We have 1 question here and 1 question other. So yes,
My voice is loud enough, I guess. The questions are really from experience. If you remember, Suharto era, right, in which they have a
So I'll just make it short. How do you insert the values of Islam Nusantara when you get the candidates who apply for that scholarship, for example, in reality, in the program? That's the first one. And then second one, how do you judge a people that actually he has the ideology of Islam Nusantara? Is it, for example, that he has to be able to read Kitab Kuning or yellow books, let's say? Because, for example, I don't have that ability because I studied technical subjects like electrical engineering, but I would like to apply for the scholarship if there is any. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I would like to try to address those questions in a short way. Pak Hadi, would you mind to answer properly? Okay. I would like to answer the last because this is relating to the selection scholarship. That's how could you evaluate those candidates in terms of selection to make sure that their mindset is Islam Nusantara. So for me, Islam Nusantara is not a symbol. Islam Nusantara can be whatever the name, as long as the value is tawazun, tawasud, and ta'adul. For me, is Islam Nusantara. So I don't really care about the symbol. So I don't. For me, I appreciate also, of course, the debate about the Islam Nusantara. But for me, as long as the value is there, this person bring the Islam Nusantara. So the essential things about Islam Nusantara is not in the terminology, for me, the substance. So when we are going to evaluate, for instance, those kind of candidates who can be models or can be a generation for Islam Nusantara, I guess those kind of value can be indicated through a bit tricky question, whatever, such as maybe, do you believe that what do you think about the Indonesian state ideology? What do you think about Pancasila, for instance? That can be, tricky question and can be explored from his or her answer. How is he or her views about state ideology, and we can see from that. But you see, in terms of selection process, don't make this as a case that we are ignoring to other terminology. We are going to bring Islam rahmatan lil alamin. So what does it mean? It means is that those kind of selection process tends to strengthen and support Indonesia as a nation state, and also supported by the Islam Nusantara. For me, I guess the substantial of Islam Nusantara is much more important. So please don't track in the terminology. Please bring the value of Islam Nusantara. Sometimes people, if you as a member of Nahdlatul Ulama, for instance, I myself try to avoid those kind of label. People sometimes feel comfortable with other name or labeling. So I create, for instance, in Australia, become Kajian Islam Atlet rather than I promoting NU. But the tradition, the value is NU, respecting the difference, promoting tolerance, things like that. As long as they're not easily to judge other Islamic communities with bid'ah and kafir. For me, those kind of a person will enter the Jannah. Easy. And secondly, it's difficult question, Pak. We have to always push the policy, whatever it takes, because the current situation tends to have a strong condition like that, even resonate within our communities. As you can see, we can see from the WhatsApp or when we live in our own communities, the growing number of tension and debate resonate from the background from our higher education even. So even though from your explanation that the previous new order under Suharto seems to be no good result, for me it's another approach how to deal with that, such as what has been, I think the University of Indonesia has a good collaboration with the Wahid Institute, for instance, and other organizations who promote diversity should be the priority within the Indonesian community, and even Jokowi or the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Education should underline this kind of mission to the Indonesian higher education. even better if Jokowi as a president raised this concern within the Indonesian communities. We need to make Indonesian communities expert in science but moderate in their mindset in a Muslim. That's the thing that we have to always develop and bring the message to all of the Indonesian communities. And the second one, what Pak Nairi?
As concerning Indonesian Islamic Cultural Center to be built in Brussels.
Oh, Brussels, yeah. Yeah, thanks. I got. Did you know? Do you know about Ayah Putriza?
Yeah, I know.
I got his email recently and said that I've been invited to the ambassadors to talk about what you are concerned. So we are spot on actually. So really we are going to support, but take and give. If you don't give, you don't take. So take and give. So collaboration with Belgium. So we have to collaborate. It's not only because Indonesia is actually it's not developed country yet, developing country. We have to collaborate with other countries who concerns to build civilization in a peaceful way. That's I guess I can answer and thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give applause to Bapak. Sorry. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to our final agenda of today. And please allow me to invite Professor Dr. Karel Steenbrink, a professor of theology at Utrecht University, to give a closing remarks.
Inna Allaha ma'as-sabirin. Well, I'm sorry for keeping your patience for some time, but this will be the final talk and the final remarks, at least so far as I have something to say on the agenda of this day. I will give you still two things. First, you get the list of 9 Wali Songo, of the 9 heroes of Islam Nusantara, which I could identify before coming to this place and also which we heard today. And then I will give 2 suggestions which I heard today in the council. Well, this is, of course, that is myself in an earlier age. Most of you were not yet born in 1970. Then I did research on Pesantren at the Pesantren of Gontar, this Al-Mutarram Al-Hajj Imam Sarkashi. The first to support today Islam Nusantara is definitely Sukur Khonje. Sukur Khonje has written often about real Islam, and that Islam is always changing, that Islam in Indonesia is different from Arab Islam, but is not inferior to Arab Islam. One section is very interesting in the last chapter of his book on Aceh. There he starts with saying, many people say, oh, the Arabs are good Muslims, but the Indonesians aren't. And then he starts talking about all these Sayyids, Habibs of Hyderabad. And then he says, well, they have their holy graves. They have their different system of inheritance, which is different from Sharia law as far as Minangkabau is different. So this is the first, Sukur Khonje. The second is Merle Rickles, who did for so long study on the Japanese courts on Sultan Agung, on Mangkurat 1, 2, 3, 4, Paco Buono, so the rulers. And he said, what we have in the Japanese course, that is the mystic synthesis. So it is Islam, but Islam in an Indonesian form. What we discussed today, Islam Nusantara, is a new word, but it's for an old reality. And I think one who formulated it in a quite interesting way is Merle Rickles. Then he wrote, well, in 1850, there was a change, there was a conflict, and it was more difficult. And then, for the first time, they talked about Mutihan Abangan, Santri Abangan. And nowadays, people say, where are the Abangan gone? So that's also changing over the time. It's not eternal, it's changing like human things are changing. Well, the third is about the conflict between myself and Professor Rashidi. While teaching at the UIN, still EIN in Jakarta, I wrote a book on 19th century Islam in Indonesia. And I gave it the title P3. Because P3 was powerful in Jakarta at the time. And I called it Pesat Padri Penghulu Penjual Jimat. As the three categories important for my description of Islam. But Rashidi was a little bit angry. He said, it's a nice book, it's a good book. Well, it has some difficult episodes, but in the title there should be no Penjual Jimat. So no amulet sellers, because they are not real Muslim. Well, I was already happy that it was published anyway by Bulan Bintang. So with the blessing of Professor Rashidi, although he changed the title. Number 4 are the Roman Catholics. Well, I'm a Roman Catholic myself. The Roman Catholics, they have a strategy which they call inculturation. And one of them was a priest, a Jesuit in Yogyakarta, which they called Homo Big, because he was very tall and had a very strong voice, Bakker Big, because there was also a Bakker Alit. And Bakker Alit, that was a lecturer, a professor at the Protestant university. But the Catholic was Bakker Big, and he wrote under the name of Rahmat Subagio. He wrote a book, Agama Asli Indonesia. And many of my Muslim students have read the book, but they did not know that Rahmat Subagio was a Jesuit priest and what was the hidden agenda of Bakker. The hidden agenda was this: there is a traditional religion in Indonesia. Then Islam came, after Hinduism and Buddhism. Then also the Protestant mission came. But they never could have the soul of Indonesian people, because they did not practice inculturation. Only the Roman Catholics, they practice inculturation, and they will have the heart of the Indonesians. Well, I don't think he's true. In fact, the Hindus, they inculturated, they changed, they adapted. The Muslims adapted to Indonesian society, and so the Catholics also do as they do what you see here of that Sacred Heart of Jesus temple in Kanjuran, which is in fact a Catholic imitation of a Hindu temple. My following hero is Wilbur Cantwell Smith, and Mukti Ali studied with him, and Timur Jailani, Haruna Sution. And he had to introduce the word cumulative traditions. All religions are cumulative traditions. Always the parents say that my children, they have a religion different from what we did. And when we are grown old, then we will say of our children, well, they have changed their habits as well. And that is what always happens. Sometimes there is reformation, but reformation is a step backward in order better to leap forward. Perhaps we should write that also to this Habib Rizik from Hadramaut. Marshall Hodgson, he is quite famous in Uwin because of his book on the venture of Islam. He divided the Muslim culture into 6. First, 3 classical cultures: the Arabs, the Persians, the Turks. And how different are they? The Arabs, the Persians, and the Turks. And how many conflicts they have. Then, in the Middle Ages, there were 3 more Muslim cultures: India, Pakistan, Southeast Asia, and Africa south of the Sahara. And nowadays, you are here sitting in the capital of Holland, which also has his new and marvelous Western mosque, besides many other mosques. And then Hans Kuhn, he joined in a great book on 7 cultures of Islam. But that was parallel to 7 cultures in Christianity and in the Jewish religion. And that is a long history. So it keeps all changing. Then I studied Adat law. And then in the 1950s, 1960s, Professor Haisairin and Hasbia Siddiqui, they coined the word that Indonesians, they should have a mazhab Indonesia. Tidak cukup mazhab Syafi'i, boleh mazhab As-Siddiqui, mungkin, tetapi dia menyebut mazhab Indonesia. Tetapi the idea was not successful. Why? I think because it was mostly on minor issues, like inheritance. And the Indonesians in Minangkabau, they gave their houses to the female side. And in Central Java, they give 50% to male and 50% to female. And they don't bother about Sharia rules. So I think that's the reason why this Mazhab Indonesia was not a success. The last hero is Harun Nasution, who was the rector who accepted me at UIN Jakarta. He wrote always very concise, few pages. One of his best articles has the title Sekitar Pendapat Al-Quran Mengandung Segala-galanya. Everything is included in the Quran. And his answer is very short. Why has the Quran so many phrases that we should think, that we should observe the sun and the moon and the earth and take our conclusions ourselves? So even the rules for Salat are not complete in the Quran. And then he talks about that verse, Al-Yawm Akmaltu Lakum Dinakum. But he says, even if the rules for the Salat are not in the Quran, then it means that only the important things are in the Quran. And for the rest, you can think yourself or you follow some other traditions. 2 short remarks about the further debate. First, the word Nusantara. Who first used the word? It was an anthropologist, geologist from Swiss in the 1850s. He did not like to use the word the Dutch East Indies, because that's too colonial. He did not like to use the word Malay Archipelago, because that's too Malay. And then he coined a new word, Nusantara. So the biggest archipelago island country of the world. Then 30 years later, another European coined the word Indonesia. Indo from India, and Nesia because it means islands. And Indonesia became the political title, and Nusantara the more cultural title. But it is a container concept. It can have many different meanings. The contents can change, and since 2015 it has changed to an idea of moderate Islam. But Nico Schulte said to me, moderate, that means not really interesting, calm, lazy, perhaps a little bit old. So what is interesting about moderate Islam? Well, I heard for today at least two very fantastic radical ideas. First, it is to the heart of the nation. So it's a nationalist word. And it is a modern world. So it has this idea of vernacularization. And it has the idea of the modern people, the young people, and I think these two ideas are the positive. Moderate is in fact a little bit negative word. It's not too extreme. But I think we must especially stress the positive aspects of the national enthusiasm and of the modernity. And then what I heard, and some said that also to me today, it's often used in Japanese style. And then people could have the idea that it's a Japanese, that is propagation of Japanese culture. But if something goes to the heart, if you meet an Indonesian, you ask, Pak dari mana? Then she said, ya, saya orang Batak, saya Cina, ada orang Minang, ada NTT. So the regions of Indonesia, that is where culture and personalities are brought together. And so the Waktu Telu of Lombok, the Banjaris, the Maduris, let them not only sell satay in Java, but they have a culture of their own. And within their own culture, they may have many varieties. And well, that is more or less the most important meaning of the culture of Islam Nusantara. It's a celebration of pluriformity, a celebration, a festival of variety. And I wish you a peaceful but joyful celebration of this Islam Nusantara. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Karel. And also, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your full participation in our first day of the conference. And now, before inviting you to enjoy the afternoon refreshment, I will make some important announcements. So first, for those who wish to have the conference certificate, they are ready at the registration table, so you can get them after this. And a little reminder for tomorrow's event, we will have religious thematic workshop at Al Hikmah Mosque and also general meeting of PJINU the Netherlands, also at Al Hikmah Mosque, The Hague. And we will also have film screening and interactive dialogue here at Fra University with the theme, The Role of Pesantren in Maintaining the University and Diversity in Indonesia, from 4 p.m. Until 7 p.m. Alright, so now, just one last thing. I would like to call all the committee and also volunteers of this conference to come forward because we want to appreciate ourselves a little bit. So, for all of you, especially Mas Syahril, Mas Fahrizal, Mas Latif Fauzi, who has flown all the way from Indonesia, Mas Nuril and everyone, Mas Fikri. So not only members of the PTINU, but also volunteers from PPI Amsterdam. Rois Surya, Bapak Nur Hasim, and media. You are also part of us. Mas Asad, you are wearing the green batik, so ladies and gentlemen, these are all the faces of the people who have worked so hard to make this conference realized and successful today. So please give them a round of applause. So yeah, thank you. So that's the end of our first day, and you are invited to have snack, coffee and refreshment outside at the foyer in the same place where we had the lunch today. So good evening and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Lewat